Napoleon Bonaparte was a French military and political leader who conquered much of Europe in the early 19th century. He rose through the ranks of military during the French Revolution and seized power in a coup d'etat in 1799. He crowned himself emperor in 1804 and led France against various coalitions of European nations in the Revolutionary Wars and the Napoleonic War. On August 15, 1769, Napoleon is born in Ajaccio on the Mediterranean coast of Corsica, which lies to the west of Italy. The island comes under French rule this same year. Napoleon later adopts the French spelling of his name. In 1785, after completing his education in France, he joins the French military, becoming an artillery officer. From 1787 to 1795, the French Revolution begins, and Napoleon sides with the revolutionaries. He fights in the French Revolutionary Wars, and in 1793 is promoted to brigadier general. In 1795, a new constitution in France places executive power in a 5-member directory. Napoleon becomes a respected advisor on military matters to the directory. In 1796 to 1799, Napoleon marries Josephine Tascher, the widow of General Alexander, in March 1796, and he subsequently leads French forces to a series of victories against the Austrians in northern Italy. He negotiates the Treaty of Camp Formio in 1797 and attempts to conquer Egypt from 1798 to 1799, but is defeated by the British under Horatio Nelson in the Battle of the Nile. Unrest at home leads Napoleon to return to France. In 1799, the same year, he joins a plot that overthrows the Directory on November 9th. This event is often considered the effective end of the French Revolution. A new government, the Consulate, is established, and Napoleon is made first consul or leader of France. In 1800, a victory over Austria at the Battle of Marengo leaves France the dominant power on the continent. 3 years later, Napoleon, in need of money, sells the Louisiana Territory to the U.S., abandoning the idea of a French empire in North America. In 1804, his numerous reforms in government include the Napoleonic Code, the French Civil Code enacted on March 21st, that clarifies and makes uniform the laws of France. He also reconstructs the French education system and declares France a hereditary empire and crowns himself emperor under the name Napoleon I. From 1805 to 1809, at the Battle of Trafalgar on October 21st, 1805, the British fleet under Nelson destroys the French navy. From this point on, Napoleon will focus on land battles only. He wins major victories in the Battle of Ulm and Austerlitz, Jena and Arstadt, and Friedland against an alliance of Russia, Austria, Sweden, and Prussia. The battles are part of what come to be known as the Napoleonic Wars. The resulting treaties of Tilsit and the Treaty of Schönbrunn leave most of Europe from the English Channel to the Russian border, either part of the French Empire, controlled by France, or allied to it by treaty. A few years later, in 1809, after divorcing Josephine, in 1809 he marries Marie Louise, the daughter of the Emperor of Austria, and on March 20th, 1811, Marie Louise bears him a son, the future Duke von Reshaped. In 1812, Tsar Alexander I of Russia refuses to abide by Napoleon's policy forbidding trade with Britain. Napoleon begins an ill-fated invasion of Russia. He reaches Moscow in September but finds the city abandoned. A huge fire breaks out that same day, destroying the greater part of the town. Since it's impossible to winter in the ruined city, Napoleon begins a retreat in October across the snow-covered plains. The retreat from Moscow is one of the great disasters in military history. Of the about 600,000 troops who had set out with Napoleon's Grand Army in June, fewer than 10,000 men fit for combat remained with his main force by November. So just a few short months and they had lost over 500,000 men. In 1813, the Battle of Leipzig results in the destruction of what is left of French power in Germany and Poland. Napoleon is forced to withdraw west of the Rhine River, and Allied forces invade France, capturing Paris on March 30th, 1814. Napoleon is forced to abdicate on April 6 and is forced into exile on the island of Elba off the west coast of Italy. 1815, he manages to muster a force and return to France to re-establish himself as the emperor for the 100 Days, but he is decisively defeated at the Battle of Waterloo on June 18th. 4 days later, Napoleon abdicates for the last time. He is exiled again, this time to St. Helena, an island in the South Atlantic. And 6 years later, on May 5th, 1821, Napoleon dies on the island of St. Helena. Napoleon I is one of the most famous figures in history. An ambitious and charismatic leader, he was also a reformer, revolutionizing the French military, reorganizing French education, and sponsoring the Napoleonic Code, a model of later civil law codes. His driving passion, however, was to expand French dominion through. Napoleon's legacy goes like this. He was an absolute monarch whose ambition raised France to new heights, but then also brought about devastating military defeats that nearly destroyed the country's army. Napoleon, however, left durable institutions on which modern France was built, including the judicial system, the central bank, and the country's financial organization, military academies, and a centralized university. He changed the history of both France.
Premium Forever Love necklace to my beautiful love. Buy this necklace, click my YouTube video description product link, and shop now.